Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to the land of Surrey being hunted. So, last time we did another challenge, the old Grumpy Farmer challenge. Well, this episode we'll go back to, podcast style discussion and all that, just because I thought, I need to, bloody rubber banding much, thank you very much. Much rubber banding much, good lord. Why does the game do that increasingly these days? I've no idea. But no, we're back to a podcast style episode then, ladies and gentlemen, because why the hell not? Kind of just wanted to record a Surrey Being Hunted episode right away. Got a big weekend of recordings planned for myself. Recording some horror games, since obviously it's October and Halloween is coming up. Got a few of them actually recorded already, but I kind of want to do more. I want to do obviously just random indie horror games, for example, that I've got on Steam or that I've got off itch.io. But I also want to maybe do some Cry of Fear custom maps, because I want to go back to Cry of Fear. Cry of Fear was a great game, really enjoyable, loved it. And when I discovered that there was custom content for it during my playthrough a couple of years ago, I was like, oh yeah, I'll come back and do that at some point, only I never did. So that's something that I want to crack on with. So that's basically stuff you can expect to see on the channel in the coming weeks, ladies and gentlemen. More horror content for you. In fact, you've probably already seen a bit as when I actually upload this particular video. You'll have probably started seeing some of the random little indie horror games, like Mince Hints, Haunting Memories, that kind of thing. They're all coming out, basically, around about this time. Now, in the meantime, though, speaking of horror games, just something that is on the brain at present. You know that fucking cash grab fucking series that I've mentioned before, because it looks really shit? Garden of Banban. I was cruising around on YouTube just today when I friggin' noticed Markiplier has done a playthrough, an hour and a half, of friggin' Garden of Banban number 7. And I was, just out of morbid curiosity, I clicked onto the video. First thing you see on the main menu of the game is that there's a friggin' advertisement for Garden of Banban 8. So you can wishlist that on Steam if you want to. And I'm sat there thinking, God, how many fucking of these games is the dev of Garden of Banban going to make? I mean, on one level, it makes business sense, Why kill that cash cow when it can still yield a load of cash for you? But good God, I've seen clips. I've seen little clips of people's playthroughs from Garden of Banban games like Markiplier's and Jacksepticeye's, and I just think, good God, they're so low budget, those games. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying a low budget game automatically has to be a bad one, but the thing is, the Garden of Banban games are so low budget, and they just feel really, I don't know, low effort. Hate to say it. If you're a fan of Garden of Banban, please do enlighten me. What do you actually enjoy about those games? What's the deal? Is it not so much that you actually enjoy the game yourself? Is it one of those so bad that you actually kind of find it hilarious? Sort of things? Is that what it is? I'm genuinely curious. So, I just wanted to actually mention that very quickly. Because why the hell not? But no, I'm not going to be spending the whole episode wittering on about how shit I think Garden of Banban is. As interesting as that would be, it's not going to happen. I can't actually get to that door. What the hell? Go around here instead. No, actually something that may be of interest. Speaking of, horror and Halloween obviously approaching us and all that, I recently took delivery of an Amazon package. It's funny actually, because so I ordered an Amazon package earlier in the week on Monday. You know what, fuck it, I might as well date the video. It's October the 11th as when I record this. So I ordered this Amazon package on the Monday, most recent Monday, which would have been, hang on, let me figure this out, Thursday 10th, Wednesday 9th, Tuesday 8th, Monday the 7th of October. Ordered the Amazon, did I order it actually on that day? Yeah, I did. I ordered it that day, and on the shipping options I actually put free delivery, which said, okay, it'll be delivered Friday, today. Actually came literally within a day or two. I'm kind of glad I was actually in to receive it. But basically, my Amazon delivery, for anyone who's curious, I basically bought 3 DVDs. So 2 of them are actually old school Disney movies. Because the thing is, I've talked before on this channel and probably in this series on previous podcast episodes where, I've talked about how, I'm not a big movie person. But thing is, obviously sometimes I have visitors who come round to my flat, usually family. And sometimes it's good to have, some little, maybe like family-friendly films or just, good sort of movies or films in general that we can watch maybe in an evening or something. I was thinking, old school Disney movies probably are good for that. Because they're the sort of things that people of all ages can enjoy. So I bought a couple of those. I bought 1951 Alice in Wonderland, which is a classic and I actually do remember quite fondly from when I was a kid. I always remember 1951's Alice in Wonderland. Again, this is something I probably already talked about in Sir. Always feels like a film that usually comes on at Christmas. But having said that, it's not an actual Christmas film, is it? It's a film you can watch all around the year. But the other Disney movie that I actually bought was, Pinocchio. Which, when would Pinocchio have originally been animated? Is it like 1940s? The original Disney Pinocchio? I think it is, isn't it? So it's another old one. But it's an old school one which I feel like I have seen it before, but I feel like I've not watched it in years. Not since I was a kid. It's funny because I always hear people saying, oh god, Pinocchio is one of those films which I always find kind of creepy or scary. Because I like the whole body horror element of it with all the kids turning into donkeys or friggin' Monstro the whale or whatever. I've never said this myself, but I've heard other people say it. So I've been thinking, sure, I'll give Pinocchio a watch at some time, since it's been such a long time since I last saw it. But, so I bought those 2, and I thought, they'd be good sort of things just to have on my shelf in case I ever have family or visitors. And, we're just looking for a decent film or something that we can put on in an evening to watch. But my third DVD that I bought, and this is a very different kind of movie. I bought the BBC 1984 film Threads, ladies and gentlemen, which is a very different kind of movie to Disney's Alice in Wonderland or Pinocchio. If you don't know what Threads is, and it said Freds then, Freds, as in with an F, Threads even. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a made-for-TV film that was done by the BBC and a Australian studio in 1984. And basically what it's about, it's kind of like a docudrama, which, well, the subject is basically a fictitious scenario where the Cold War spills into an absolute outright nuclear exchange. And the story is about how a nuclear bomb detonates over Sheffield. And it's basically about how British society pretty much collapses and breaks down. And it's one of those films that I've heard a lot about, and a lot of people say it's one of those films that apparently when it came out it traumatised everybody who fucking watched it. Because it's basically supposed to be like a really, I think, bleak vision of what a post-nuclear war world would look like. Starvation, disease, the breakdown of society, authoritarianism, that kind of thing. Basically a really pessimistic view of what would happen in the aftermath of a nuclear attack. And I've heard that a lot of people think it's really good and well worth watching, but I've never actually seen it myself. But an interesting story actually, I was reading about Threads recently. So if you type Threads obviously into Google, you look at it in Google Images, there's like a character whose face you often see in any sort of like promotional image for the film from back in the day. And basically it's a guy who is wearing sort of like a uniform of a 1980s traffic warden, but he has like this bloody bandage wrapped around his upper face, and he's carrying a rifle. And it's funny, I was reading that apparently this character, the traffic warden, doesn't actually even have a name, and essentially he only appears for about 30 seconds in the whole film, and yet weirdly his character's face has kind of become like the face of the film from the time. And the thing is, because he was just basically a character who only appeared briefly, he was basically played by just a paid extra. And as a result, I'm guessing he wasn't actually credited with that role, whoever it was. But recently, apparently earlier this year, there was actually an effort here in the UK to try and find out the name of the guy who played that traffic warden character. Apparently, the guy's name was Michael Beecroft, and he was an actual real-life traffic warden who basically just one day went along to the film as an extra, and they basically cast him as just this sort of terrifying, nightmarish-looking sort of local official who, in the aftermath of nuclear war, basically becomes part of an authoritarian regime in the ruins of civilization. And yeah, it's weird how that character, who apparently appears only for about 30 seconds, his face basically became the face of the film, even though he's not even a main character. But yeah, I really want to watch Threads, and I'm thinking what might be interesting is, so obviously since I've got a DVD copy of it, I'm wondering if I could maybe sort of do a reaction to it on my propagandist channel, possibly. I don't know. Obviously, copyright will probably be a thing, but I'd be sort of curious to experiment, because what I could always do is I could like watch the whole thing, maybe just like jump cut any bits where I'm not really reacting or saying anything, and just focus on maybe the sort of highlights of the film, so that way it almost becomes like a highlight reel, something like that. That's a possibility. So Threads, definitely want to watch it, and keep your eyes peeled on Propagandist, because it may well turn into something that I do over on there. Speaking of Propagandist though, I really need to get back to that channel. I haven't uploaded on it for a while. I've always been saying that I'm going to do a non-blind retrospective Let's Watch of RWBY Volumes 1 to 4, and I still have yet to start those. But they'd be easy to do, because I own RWBY Volumes 1 to 4 on DVD, so they'd be really easy to do, you know, especially given that Rooster Teeth technically no longer exists anymore. You know, speaking of RWBY news, RWBY is actually now owned by Viz Media, I believe. You know, Rooster Teeth, before they dissolved, I think managed to sell it over to them, which does raise a few questions about if the RWBY franchise continues, what form will it be in? And I would imagine it probably will be, I don't know, given that Viz Media, I don't think Viz Media has ever produced an animation. It usually licenses a lot of Japanese anime and tries to bring it to a Western market. And it usually licenses and translates a lot of Japanese manga as well. So a lot of speculation is that Viz Media could very well take RWBY, and it could continue in maybe like a written form, something like that. Who knows? We'll see. Because you know me, I'm quite the RWBY fan and all that. It'd be a shame to see that franchise die. Some people speculate maybe it'll get a hard reboot someday, which could be an option for it. Right, but anyway, I'm not talking about RWBY anymore of this, because I've done 1,000,001 episodes. It's podcast-style episodes talking about RWBY before. No, what I wanted to keep talking about was, obviously, since I've mentioned Threads, you know, other scary movies or films that I'd be interested in actually getting my hands on. One that I definitely want to buy is the Stanley Kubrick adaptation of The Shining from 1980, because that's a classic, and apparently it's a very good psychological horror. And you know me, I do love a good psychological horror. So, yes, that is something that I want to get hold of. Depends on whether it's available yet on Amazon, because it has been available on Amazon before, but when I last checked a few days ago, I think it was said that, I think it said it was out of stock at the moment. So I'll have to have a check back again at some point. And again, I could always probably just, I don't know, take the bus into town, maybe find local HMV or something, because they'll probably have a copy of it that you can buy. I could do that. That's a possibility. Any robots here? Not by the looks of it. So yeah, The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of that. Definitely want to have a look at it, get hold of it, give it a watch. Again, could very well be something that we potentially do over on Propagandist. Sort of like a very heavily edited Let's Watch. Something along those lines, who knows. It just depends, because obviously it would be a lot of work to do that. Because obviously I'd have to sit down, watch the whole thing, and record my reaction to it. And then I'd have to obviously put it through my Magix movie editor, trim out all the extraneous bits, jump cut anything that wasn't particularly interesting, and then just turn it into a montage reel. But who knows? It's a possibility. Speaking of obviously like horror films, though, I'll admit there's a lot of horror films that don't really interest me. I must say I'm not really very interested in things like slashers or gory sort of horror, a la Saw or Final Destination. That sort of stuff just never appealed to me. Which is one, to your shock and horror, ladies and gentlemen, that does mean that there are some horror cinema classics that I've never seen, like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Stuff like that, because I get that it's probably a classic and everyone's probably like, how can you not have seen those films? But again, it's that kind of slasher film that I'm just not really that into. Having played so many horror games here on the General Red Strategist channel, I have really learned what it is about horror that I love more than anything. I've learned what specific types of horror tend to appeal to me. And like I say, gory, slasher, horror, that kind of thing, it just doesn't appeal, that's all. So, yeah. Well. I'm wondering what other kind of horror films there are out there, though, that might be interesting, especially psychological horror stuff, potentially, or sort of horror that doesn't rely heavily on gore or anything like that. I'm sure there'll be some good ones, but I just need to find them, in essence. Right, you know what I'm thinking, ladies and gentlemen? Thinking this is probably about time to wrap this episode up. So yes, mainly I just wanted to do a podcast episode to talk to you about my Amazon delivery, in essence. God, whoever packed that package at the Amazon warehouse, that must have been really jarring. Oh yeah, so this person has ordered Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Okay, they've also ordered Disney's Pinocchio. Oh, and they've also ordered BBC's Threads from 1984. What a combination. Anyway, yeah. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Surrey Being Hunted, ladies and gentlemen. So, plenty of questions I actually asked in this video. If you're a fan of Garten and Banban, please enlighten me on what exactly it is you enjoy about those games. See if you can at least fill me in on what it is people like about them. As well as that, any good horror movie recommendations, especially ones that aren't very gory, or that don't rely on gore, that kind of thing. You could always let me know about those in the comments as well, ladies and gents. Anything I could watch for Halloween, who knows. Alright, well, join me for next episode of Sir whenever I get around to recording that. In the meantime, my social media links and my propagandist channel link, already mentioned, of course, that channel. All that's down in the video description if you're interested. If you enjoyed, a like's always appreciated. And on that, I'll say goodbye and also good night, because it is just past 10 o'clock and I probably want to quieten down so I'm not disturbing anyone in any other flats. Goodbye, everybody. Just need to hold this down, that's all. Right, get some of those. Get these materia crystals. At least it resets boost capsules and all that. Ooh, chat with them. Shoot him. There we go, that's how you do it. Get all the money. Okay, we got through there. Okay, I'm gonna stop going into that. Okay, luckily there was a natural boost right there. That's door number 2. There was a boost pad there apparently. I didn't even see. Yeah. God damn, freaking getting through here is a